when I pass in the street. Bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.
What's going on, everybody? Happy holidays. Your man Eric Wilson in for the Sports Arena. Yes, it is. Week 16 is coming to a close. And as things begin to unravel and as the playoffs truly begin to take formation, we still got some questions out there. But I really feel like the teams that are in on both the AFC and NFC side of the teams that we're going to pretty much be seeing. Now, of course, there is still some determining factors as to the odds on, the long shots, who could possibly get in. And it's just, if this happens and this needs to happen, then that needs to happen. But I want to start with something that's been kind of bothering me ever since it took place yesterday. I'm upset. I'm irritated. I'm angry that my Philadelphia Eagles, in fact, lost to the Washington Commanders, which, let me just say, to all the Commander fans out there, and they are few and far between, that I actually do have love, honor, and respect for, congratulations. We beat you at our house. Somehow you beat us at your house. When we see each other in the postseason, because it looks like that would be the first round matchup, that'll be the rubber match, and we'll see what happens between these two NFC East teams. Now, of course, there are so many things out there about, with Jalen being in concussion protocol. Is it a good idea for them just to rest him these next couple of weeks so that he is healthy when the postseason comes around? Because let's be honest, I think, and in my honest opinion, Kenny Pickett is serviceable, even though he himself was being checked out after the game. I believe they were checking his ribs to make sure he was okay. So it begs to ask the question, number one, come the day after Christmas, the 26th of December, how are both our starting and backup quarterback doing as far as participation, as far as are they going to play, and more importantly, who is going to play? But for Washington, listen, this team overcame a 14-point deficit and then put together 13 points in the fourth quarter to beat Philadelphia. So I got to give them their props. And this is what I will say with regard to Jayden Daniels. If that young man doesn't win Rookie of the Year, I don't know who you're giving it to. I'm just going to be very honest. Because what he has been able to do this entire season for the Washington Commanders, having them at a double-digit win record and a potential playoff spot, it is squarely on his shoulders. And he, from everybody that I've talked to, has exceeded the expectation of most people. So, that being said, this man, in my opinion, should receive the Rookie of the Year award. I mean, it's crazy to think that this team had 5 costly mistakes and they still won the game. That is who Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders are this season. And we can attribute it to, possibly what they were when they had RG3. But the fact of the matter is, this young man, as a rookie, 339 yards, 258 passing, 81 rushing, 5 touchdown passes. 5. Coinciding with the man's number. I mean, again, the Commanders, 10-5, franchise most wins in a season. They've had 10-win seasons in 99, 2005, 2012. Another thing to just catapult Jayden Daniels, first rookie and second player in NFL history, people, history, with at least 250 passing yards, 75 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns in a game. You know who he shares that spotlight with? That would be one Cam Newton. That's rarefied air. I continually will be in support of this young man moving forward, except when he plays Philadelphia. But for this moment, I got to say it. Congrats to them. And this is why I'm not that upset. And I am so glad that my guy has chimed in, because this is why I feel I'm not as distraught as I would be with regard to my Philadelphia Eagles, because by Washington beating Philadelphia yesterday, the silver lining in this, and my man Adam put it best, Dallas is eliminated from the postseason. So all them Cowboy fans that like to talk every year about, oh, this is our year, we gonna do it. Yeah. Y'all gone. Y'all done. See you next year. However, and Adam, I'm glad you brought that up, because it leads me to this. I don't like talking about this team, but I have to, for the simple fact that once the elimination happened, why does it feel like all of a sudden that Dallas just decides to play like they are unbeatable, like they are world beaters? It's like something needs to happen inside of them, or a light switch turns on, or something, to the point where it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It doesn't matter who the running back is, who the tight end is, who the defensive or offensive line is. It's like once Dallas realizes our season is pretty much over, oh, we can go out and have fun now. We can go be ourselves now, because it doesn't matter. I mean, truly, this is a team who in years past had gone 12-5, 12-5. I mean, there was talk of them. Like this potentially could really, literally be their year, and they still found a way to mess it up. But now that they're out, and what are they playing for? Draft picks? Oh, now all of a sudden, they want to show you of who they could be, what they could potentially be when clicking on all cylinders. Now, listen, Tampa last night, they let Dallas get out to a lead. And again, when you put up a goose egg in the second quarter, you are truly playing from behind. And no disrespect to Baker Mayfield, because the opportunity was there. But by this point, Dallas had already put themselves in a position to where, like I say, they play their style, their game, their tempo, and force the other team to do something on the come up. And yes, Megan, you're absolutely right. Micah looked miserable. But Micah's been looking miserable all year long. So for him, I'm just like, bruh, you need to stay off the podcast for a minute and figure out what you're going to do. Because as a man who at one time was considered to be in rarefied air with the greatest, one of, if not the greatest defensive guy in the NFL, in Lawrence Taylor, what has happened? That's a question only he can answer. I don't know. And quite honestly, as long as you play for Dallas, I don't care to know. But let's get back to this team, my Philadelphia Eagles, because it pains me to say that the number one seed is pretty much slipped away from our grasp. With both Minnesota and Detroit just having a hell of a year for both teams, Philly is going to have to go somewhere for the NFC Championship game. Right now, stands to be Ford Field in Detroit. Could very well be Minnesota. I don't know. But the health and safety of our quarterback is paramount. The ability to put up the points, because that's what we're going to have to do, not only these next 2 weeks against Dallas and then against the Giants. I wanted, again, and I'll say this to everybody who was listening, I wanted the number 1 seed, not because we got the bye, but because there's a different energy when you go to Philadelphia in January for a playoff game. Does the bye help? Of course it does. Most of the time it does. Sometimes it doesn't. It just really depends on the team. I feel it would, but that's just me. But I look at that and I say, okay, we know we got one home playoff game. And right now, if we did, it would be against Washington. Again, it's the rubber match. Who's going to come out? But then it's that next opponent, divisional round, because wildcard round is wildcard round. But that divisional round, that's going to be the week that we really see what Philly's got all about them. Megan, I could not agree with you more. Micah Parsons can be a difference maker, but I feel he's too much on the mic right now and not enough in the book, not enough about the team. I think he's more about Micah than he is about the Dallas Cowboys. And if that's the case, listen, if he wants to go somewhere, let him go. However, if you're going to stay, be about the team. Be about the success of the Dallas Cowboys. If you're going to have that star on your helmet, then be about it. I will say to this point right here, the medical staff, and I'll say this for all 32 teams, not just specifically about Dallas, but I'll say this about all 32 teams. The medical staff in the NFL, I really want them to get better at addressing the issues. But I'll take this conversation one step further and say to you, it's also about the athlete. The athlete has got to be the one to go through the strength and conditioning and make sure that they are physically prepared to endure not just an 18-week regular season where they play 17 games, but the potential of having to play 4 more games after that, playing into February and not stopping in January or December, whenever. So I look at all that, and what I want is there to be that balance between the care and concern from those whose job it is to ensure that the health and safety of these players is priority. But what I also want is the athlete themselves to take accountability so that they are also in the best position to go out there and do what they love to do, be one of 1,550 men to be able to say they do it, and most importantly, give their team a viable shot of not only playing at a high level, but playing at a high level consistent. So that's where I wanted to take that. Take a small break. When I come back, I'm going to talk more about Week 16 in the NFL.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer Reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
Welcome back into the Sports Arena. Man, Eric Wilson. Yes, Week 16 recap in the NFL. Listen, I spent a lot of time talking about the NFC East because, of course, that is my division. As we get through the holiday season, let's see what happens these last 2 weeks because, as we know, Week 18 is nothing but divisional matchups from top to bottom. I still feel like if the NFL hasn't flexed the Sunday Night Football matchup to Detroit versus Minnesota, they are truly missing out on a prime time opportunity. And so that, in my opinion, needs to happen. But let's talk about some of the other news and notes that happened here on Week 16. I mean, Buffalo overcoming a 14-point deficit to New England. Josh Allen getting his 75th career regular season win, which ties with him, for most regular season wins by a quarterback in his first 7 seasons. Detroit, we knew what was going to happen, beating Chicago 34-17, earning their 13th win of the season. Baltimore defeating Pittsburgh. Although Pittsburgh still holds the AFC North Division title, Baltimore did tie the record with them and clinched a playoff berth for their 3rd consecutive season. Speaking of the AFC North, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, 252, 3 touchdowns, while Jamar Chase had 6 for 97 and a touchdown in the Ohio State rivalry. I mean, they beat up on Cleveland 24-6. I suspect, and I would have to look at that contract to see how much longer is Myles Garrett going to remain in Cleveland. Just my question. I got to get some answers. Speaking of Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. This young man, first player giving the man his flowers in NFL history. 250 pass yards and 3 touchdowns in, as LeBron James said when he went to Miami, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7 consecutive games. And you know the guy that he passed up? Oh, by the way, that would be the GOAT, Tom Brady, because Brady did it 6 games in 2007. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. That quarterback wide receiver combination. As long as the two of them are together and it's not the month of September, those two are going to have great careers together. And it stands to reason that at some point, they're going to find a missing piece and get themselves back into the conversation. Quite frankly, here's my thing. If they could win in September, they would definitely be in the conversation of the postseason. Not so much this year. Speaking of Detroit, that team that currently sits atop the NFC. I mean, Jared Goff. You want to talk about a man who is just, I won't even say reinventing himself, but is finally found the team, the organization, the coach, and the players He just looks like a young man having fun. He truly does. I mean, had a passer rating of 137. Amon-Ra St. Brown was 6 for 70. Meanwhile, Sam Laporta got his 6th reception of the season, and they also 34-17 over the Chicago Bears. Unbelievable. Sam Darnold. Don't know what it is. Oh, yes, I do. It's Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer. Sam Darnold with a 112 passer rating. 27-24 against Seattle. That score is not indicative of what we saw yesterday in this game. Okay? Darnold, 13 wins in his first season with the team. Here are some of the names of quarterbacks who, when they went to a new team, had 13 wins in their first season. Roll with me for this one. First and foremost, Peyton Manning did it in 2012. You've got Steve McNair did it with the Ravens in 2006. Both Dak Prescott and Ben Roethlisberger did it in their first seasons with the Dallas Cowboys and with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sam Darnold, a guy who at one time we all just naturally thought was going to be a proverbial backup in the NFL. And now there's talk of, you got J.J. McCarthy. When he comes back, what are you going to do with Sam Darnold? Well, you pay him. But is someone else going to pick him up? Or is he going to stay in Minnesota? Which I don't think he's going. That's not going to happen. But I will tell you this. If there are any players on Minnesota who are going to advocate for him, one, as we know, is going to be Justin Jefferson. The other one just might be Addison. Let's flip the script and move over to the AFC South. Anthony Richardson. This young man, I know there was several question marks at the beginning of the season because of things that happened, and he said he was tired and this, that, and the other. I think those things have fixed themselves. But now what we're seeing with the Indianapolis Colts is keep your eye on them, especially this offseason, with potential moves that they can make. Because we saw what Jonathan Taylor did yesterday. And so what I'm curious is, has this team finally figured out what is going to make the motor run in Indianapolis? And if they make the necessary moves, they very well could be a team that we talk about moving forward. I want to talk about Philadelphia because you know I love them, and I got to. Even though we lost yesterday. And yes, I say we. Saquon, 150, 2 touchdowns, had a 68-yarder. This young man, 4 rushing touchdowns of 65 yards or more in a single season. By the way, 6th player in NFL history, 10 career rushing touchdowns of 50 or more. You know who he joins? Listen to this list. Let's start with AP, Adrian Peterson. Oh, let's go to Barry Sanders, Hall of Famer, Jim Brown, King Henry, and Chris Johnson. All of these guys, Saquon Barkley now joins that cast and becomes the 6th player. He is on pace, and the possibility is there for him to break the single season record. Fittingly enough, the last game that the Philadelphia Eagles play is against Saquon's former team, the New York Giants. Now, I know Saquon is truly about the team. He wants to make sure everybody eats. However, if there is ever a week for him to truly say, give me the rock and let me show you what I can do, I think it is week 18. I'm just going to say that because the brother has been very selfless. He has been very humbled. He is all about the success of the team winning. And I think week 18 against the Giants, I say, let the brother loose. That's what I'm going to say. I know I touched on him a little bit earlier, but let's talk about Cleveland for a second. I know, shocking. It's the holidays, and I'm trying to be in a better mood because, like I said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yes, Washington beat Philadelphia, but by doing so, they eliminated Dallas. It's the silver lining. Let me have this one for a moment. But with Cleveland, we talked about Myles Garrett. He had his 12th sack. He reached 100 career sacks, and he's the 5th player since '82 to have 100 sacks in his first 8 seasons. I'm just curious if that is going to be enough for him to want to stay in Cleveland. I don't know if that's the case. Time will tell, and we shall definitely see. My thing with regard to the next 2 weeks, especially, it starts on Wednesday. And before I forget, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays to everyone and their family. I hope this season everyone gets time to enjoy their loved ones and cherish those memories. That's from your man from the Sports Arena. These next 2 weeks, when we look at the schedule and we see the matchups that are taking place, I mean, you got to figure Christmas, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and then Baltimore, Houston. 4 AFC teams that are all playoff contenders. Shout out to my brother Denzel. My man, great minds think alike. Y'all already know your boy doing prime rib himself, so I got some for you as well, man. We might do steak and eggs on December 26th. I'm going to let you know. But, I mean, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, that has major implications because we still don't know the true health of the ankle of Patrick Mahomes. And Pittsburgh, coming off of that loss to Baltimore, is only going to fuel them. I did hear that George Pickens potentially could be playing on Christmas Day. The impact that he is going to have against a Spagnuolo, Chris Jones-led Kansas City defense is something that everybody's going to stand up and pay attention to. But Russ truly getting into his own groove and his own element, that's when we're going to watch. And then, I mean, the present versus the future, if you ask me, in the Baltimore-Houston game, we know what Lamar Jackson's capable of with Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers. But C.J. Stroud, who has faced not a lot of criticism this season, up until, I will say, maybe the past few weeks, this game, to me, brings a whole new level of styles make fights when you have two very similar quarterbacks, not only in their style of play, but in their ability to make things happen. We know the magic that is Mahomes, but when we look at Lamar and we look at CJ, it's like, are we looking at mirror images of two quarterbacks who, when you think you done figured them out, they just completely switch gears on you and turn nothing into something. That is the game that I'm truly very much interested in. But when we look at the rest of these games, I mean, Thursday Night Football is Seahawks and Bears. Then you got a Saturday triple header, which I say the Saturday night game between the Cardinals and the Rams. That game, playoff implications. And then you look down the rest of the schedule, the game that I feel everybody should be paying attention to. I'll give you two. First off, Carolina at Tampa. Carolina, I don't know what has entered their locker room, if they took sage and just saged the whole entire stadium. But this team is playing for something that they truly, I want to know what's in the Kool-Aid, what they fighting for. Because at this point, we know what the Carolina Panthers are, yet they are playing like they have shut out all the noise and like they are actually saying, we're going to show you who we are. It might have been too little too late this season, but we coming for y'all next season. The Green Bay, Minnesota game. I'll give you three. Green Bay, Minnesota game. Major implications there. Of course, I'm going to be a Packer fan. Y'all already know, because I need Minnesota to lose another game. But the Sunday night matchup, Atlanta with Michael Penix versus Jaden Daniels. Two young studs going at it. This game, because the Falcons control their own destiny right now. The Falcons could be the team. Mind you, could be the team without Kirk Cousins as their starter to get into the postseason. Does Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders have one more to pull a rabbit out of a hat and make something happen? You got the Robinson brothers, Bijan and Brian, on the rushing side of things. And then, even though he is questionable with the hamstring, Drake London for the Atlanta Falcons. And then, as they say, Scary Terry McLaurin for the Washington Commanders. That Sunday night matchup between these two teams has the capability to give us a futuristic view of what the NFL is going to look like for the next several years. It still remains to be seen. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for your man Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena here. Yes, on a Monday night. Again, much love to everybody. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to one and all. I will see y'all in the new year. Everybody stay blessed, and I will talk to you. Merry Christmas. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.